if we would be willing to sit down with the city officials before noon today to negotiate our stance, and my reply was absolutely not.
Tonight, protesters blocking a road into a Winnipeg landfill say they're not going anywhere.
So they're just going to learn, some of the teachings about the beads.
Plus, putting it all together. Young men learned their culture through the eye of a needle.
Oh, it's lovely having everybody here. Everybody's in a mood to celebrate.
And Nunavumiut celebrate the birth of their territory. Good evening, Tansei Anin. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. There was a ratcheting up of tensions at the Brady landfill blockade in Winnipeg over the weekend as protesters were served an order by police to dismantle the site by noon today. But dozens of supporters pushing for a search of the landfill for women's remains doubled down on their message today. They're not going anywhere. All this as Canada's premiers gather for meetings in Winnipeg. APTN's Leanne Sanders has more.
Winnipeg police were a no-show by the noon deadline they gave protesters. The order to vacate coming just ahead of talks amongst the premiers hosted by Manitoba's Heather Stephenson. The blockade went up after Stephenson told the families the province wouldn't support a search of the Prairie Green landfill for the remains of 3 Indigenous women, even though a feasibility study found it was possible. Family members of the women are resolute in their demand for a search and declined an invitation from the city to meet today.
He asked if we would be willing to sit down with the city officials before noon today to negotiate our stance, and my reply was absolutely not. Unless you guys are going to sit down with us to tell us that you are going to start the search, then no, we're not doing this no more. We're done talking.
Harris says their next step is to pressure Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Mark Miller to make a decision on a search.
After today, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be calling his office and asking him, for some answers now. We've given him long enough now, right?
The blockade has angered some, this man dumping landscaping debris over the weekend onto the red dress spray-painted on the road. Long Plain First Nation Chief Kyra Wilson says the man's actions weren't surprising.
It is 2023 and we're still dealing with that racism and that hatred and the oppression, with all the levels of government right now. And this is a prime example of the things that we're still having to fight for when it comes to our people and when it comes to our women.
Morgan Harris's daughter, Cambria, is frustrated with the lack of action by governments on the ongoing genocide of Indigenous women.
That guy who came by yesterday, I want to say thank you. Thank you for bringing the eyes and bringing the awareness back to what's going on here, because you just showed us just what kind of oppression and racism we face every single day. And when people point fingers at my community and say, oh, well, it's you guys doing the violence. No, it's not. We've been here from the beginning.
A Winnipeg man is charged with homicide in connection with the death of Rebecca Contois last year and 3 other Indigenous women whose remains are believed to be in either Prairie Green landfill or the Brady Road landfill. Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Well, we want to hear what you think about the blockade at the Brady landfill. Here's how to continue the conversation. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca, or you can leave us a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. The Assembly of First Nations executive named Joanna Bernard interim national chief over the weekend. She's currently the AFN's regional chief for New Brunswick and will take on the role until December, when an election will be held. Former National Chief Roseanne Archibald was ousted over a week ago during an online meeting over complaints AFN staff filed against her during a human resources investigation. Archibald was first elected in 2021 and was suspended from the position last June, but reinstated the following month during a General Assembly. According to a press release today, Bernard said, quote, "It is crucial that the Assembly of First Nations resume its important work of advancing First Nations priorities." And a familiar face is returning to the top job at Nunavumiut Nation. Alvin Fiddler, a former Nan Grand Chief, was the only candidate to put his name forward for the job. It has been vacant since Derek Fox was removed from the position in May. Fiddler will officially take over the role on August the 16th. He was first elected Nan Grand Chief in 2015. Fiddler stepped aside in 2021 and ran unsuccessfully for National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations. Derek Fox was suspended in February. Nan Chiefs removed Fox as Grand Chief due to his violations of the Nan Executive Council Code of Conduct while in office. Nan represents 49 First Nations in Northern Ontario. A new study finds that Indigenous men are at a higher risk of developing aggressive prostate cancer than non-Indigenous men. Researchers at the University of Alberta say they found men in First Nations and Métis communities were much less likely to be screened for prostate cancer than men living outside of Indigenous communities. The study's senior author says the lack of screening could be why prostate cancer is more aggressive and advanced when it's found in Indigenous men. The Confederacy of Treaty Number 6 Nations has declared a state of emergency due to the opioid crisis. The Confederacy is calling for immediate mobilization, support, and additional funding from all levels of government to address the crisis. For more on this, we're joined by Alberta NDP MLA Brooks Arcand-Paul. He is the opposition critic for Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation. Brooks, thank you so much for joining us here today. Now, we know the opioid crisis is hitting everywhere very hard. Can you tell us why it's led to the Confederacy of Treaty 6 Nations to declare a state of emergency?
Yeah, in Alberta recently some data came out, and thank you APTN for also making that come to light. What we're seeing is that our people are dying a lot younger here in Alberta, and a large part of that is due to the drug poisoning epidemic and this province's refusal to identify harm reduction strategies and in fact being afraid of the word harm reduction. And as we know, in harm reduction, especially in our way, we have to take a holistic approach. We have to include things like housing. We have to include things like STI checking, because right now there's also an explosion of STIs in our communities, on our nations, and that is also causing high infant mortality rates. We're also needing to address the ongoing traumas caused by colonial governments against our people, and that includes a mental health component, and that's part of harm reduction. So we're seeing it because of policy. We're seeing it because treatment beds aren't available, and the ones that are being promised aren't being built fast enough, while our people continue to die on the streets and in homes on our nations.
So, Brooks, what can be done to combat the opioid poisonings?
Well, first off, not treat harm reduction like a bad word. The Premier herself is refusing to acknowledge the evidence-based science that's out there. In fact, trying to link some failures, which I don't quite think that they are failures in other provinces and other jurisdictions, and saying that that's just not the Alberta way. The Alberta way is caring about our people. It's about caring about a people that live in Alberta. And that is not the Alberta that we all know. And we need to put in actual strategies and listen to experts rather than basically politically interfering with the way that our healthcare system is operating, not listening to experts like Dr. Esther Tailfeathers, who resigned because the province was not listening to them. We're running into an issue where we now have to have these conversations, and we need to have focused strategies to help alleviate the mental health concerns, the drug poisoning epidemic, and the ongoing mortality of our people, whether by suicide or by not our babies not being born healthy.
Now, the province of Alberta recently signed some agreements with First Nations to provide $30 million for treatment beds. Will that help address the crisis at all?
Well, keep in mind, this is on top of other agreements that were already in place with other nations to get these treatment beds built. And it's great that these nations are getting the opportunity to bring treatment to their nation and bring their people home. It, at the end of the day, does not solve this immediate crisis, which is only getting worse. We know that there are agreements in place for other nations, and those shovels haven't even hit the ground yet. And it's been well over almost 3 years going on to now, where they haven't made these spaces available and are not, I've actually heard of folks being turned away from non-Indigenous centers because of racism within the system. And we need to recognize that photo ops are not helping our people. We're still dying at an alarming rate, and the drug poisoning epidemic is still there. And we have a premier that is just dug her head so deep in the sand on not addressing actual strategies that work, like harm reduction strategies.
Well, Brooks, we'll have to leave it there, but we certainly appreciate you coming on here and giving us a bit of insight into this problem.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we have to step aside for a moment. A Juno Award-winning trio recently visited a First Nation in Manitoba. Find out who and why they were there next. Stay with us. Welcome back to APTN National News. In Manitoba, the inaugural Strength from the Storm Women's Gathering was recently held in Fisher River Cree Nation. Juno Award-winning trio the Bearhead Sisters performed at the event celebrating women. Reporter Sav Jones met up with the sisters before their show and got a sneak peek of their performance.
Thanks. I'm in Fisher River Cree Nation at the Strength from the Storm Women's Gathering, and with me here are the Bearhead Sisters. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Hi. I know that you're going to be performing tonight for all the women here. I wanted to know, how does it feel to have them as your audience? What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to singing. You know, we've been singing for 20 plus years, so it's gotten a lot easier for us. And you know, being able to sing in front of different people is always a treat, you know, and it's a treat for them too. So we're looking very forward to it. And, you know, being here has been a great honor, you know, being able to be a part of everything and all the sessions and, you know, being a part of, you know, a women's gathering. It's very empowering, and we feel very connected, and, you know, we just really enjoying our time here. You know, our mom, she told us when we were just little girls, when we started, was, you know, sing when you're happy, sing when you're sad, sing when you're angry, you know, just sing, because it's going to help your spirit. It's going to keep you lifted.
What do you have to say to the people who say that only men can sing traditional songs?
Well, you know, for many, like, you know, our ancestors, you know, they go way back, and song is a part of our people, and it's a part of who we are. You know, in ceremony, round dance, powwow, anything, it's like a prayer. And, you know, growing up, our mom has always taught us, you know, to believe in ourselves and to keep singing when you're sad, when you're happy. And, you know, it's at one point, you know, there was a time where we felt like we couldn't do it, but it was because of our, you know, our mother. You know, she had that strength. And she gave that to us. She gifted that to us too, so that we can keep singing as women. And you know, when we go places, we let everybody know that, you know, it's not just a man's part. It's also a woman. You know, because we give life, and, you know, we can be a part of everything else, just as, like, you know, them.
There was a time we were
You won the 2023 Juno for Best Traditional Indigenous Artist of the Year for your album Unbreakable. What does life look like now after that big win?
Well, for now, it has given us a break. You know, we've worked very hard to get where we are today. We've been singing, you know, for 20 plus years. We did many albums. We've joined up with many groups, and you know, we just kept going, even though there was times where it felt like we couldn't keep going. But you know, this Juno win has brought us many blessings in a way, and we just always look forward to going to new communities and sharing our gift.
Well, I think that's a great place to end it, and I want to say thank you so much for chatting with us today, and I hope that you have a great rest of your gathering here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Back to you in studio.
Boys Matter too. That's the new message of new drop-in programs being offered by Edmonton's Creating Hope Society of Alberta. Indigenous teen boys between 14 and 18 years old are invited to participate over the summer. APTN's Chris Stewart was there for their first session, which was all about beading.
Like once you start getting farther down, you can see it's more easier to skip the beats.
Ambrose Cardinal is the program coordinator for the Indigenous Boys Matter 2 drop-in program every Tuesday this summer from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Edmonton Intercultural Center. The drop-in sessions will offer a different cultural teaching. Today is wraparound beading.
The whole intention of Indigenous Boys Matter 2 is to offer a space for our Indigenous boys to learn about their culture, learn about their role as men in a healthy way, and to try to unpack some of the things that, we deal with as young men.
Yeah, because if you put it too long, you'll get frustrated because your string will get...
Joe Swampy is a knowledge keeper and is teaching the group how to do wraparound beading.
So they're just going to learn, some of the teachings about the beads, and then I'll even teach about the beginning, what we used originally. It was kind of different for each tribe as well. So your West Coast and your East Coast would be more shell, and in Edmonton, this would be plains. So they would have used more bone and porcupine quill.
Azrael is a participant who says he has beaded a little before.
We're wrapping it around. It's always, whenever we were doing the beadwork before, it was on a flat surface. We made flowers and stuff like that.
Is this tougher?
Not really. The other one was a bit tougher because of the colors you had to pick.
Upcoming activities include traditional games and nature walks.
So we try to give them the tools to be able to work in ceremony, to work in community, and then to also better themselves through education. So we're just trying to create a safe space for them.
The program runs each Tuesday until August 22nd. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
All right, it's that time. We pause the news briefly one final time. A look at the celebrations that took place for Nunavumiut Day is up next. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Libby Walker shared this midnight shot on the Kluwani Lake in the Yukon during this year's fishing derby. Libby, that's a great shot there, and certainly hope a lot of fish was caught before and after this shot. And how are you enjoying your summer? You can send your pictures to share at aptn.ca for a chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. All right, now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Beginning on the East Coast, 14 in St. John's and 20 in Halifax. 30 degrees in Cartwright and 30 in Happy Valley Goose Bay. 22 and rain in Quebec City and 28 and rain in Montreal. 30 degrees and rain in Toronto and 25 and rain in North Bay. Rain continues over in Ontario and 15 in Wawa and 21 and rain in Sioux Lookout. 16 degrees in Churchill and clear and 22 in Puckatawagan. 24 and clear in Barons River and 24 in sunshine in Winnipeg. Some showers and 20 degrees in Regina and 24 in North Battleford. 22 degrees and clear in Meadow Lake and some showers and 24 in Stony Rapids. As we continue west at 24 in Fort Chippewa and 21 in Grand Prairie. Some showers and 24 in Edmonton and showers and 25 in Lethbridge. 22 degrees in Vancouver and 26 in Bella Coola. 26 and clear in Smithers and 25 and rain in Fort Nelson. 26 degrees in Old Crow and 32 in Dawson. 34 in Norman Wells and 25 and clear in Yellowknife. 29 degrees in Fort McPherson and 29 in Nunavut. 20 degrees and clear in Cambridge Bay and 9 in Chesterfield. 8 degrees in Arctic Bay and 8 degrees in Iqaluit. Canada's youngest jurisdiction has been celebrating its founding over the weekend. Festivities took place throughout Nunavut, including the territory's capital. Trevor Wright reports.
Crowds gathered in the territory's capital as Nunavut Tungavik Incorporated hosted an event celebrating Nunavut Day and the 30th anniversary of the signing of the Nunavut Land Claims Agreement, the largest Indigenous land claim in Canadian history. Nunavumiut were eager to celebrate the founding of their territory.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see all these people coming together, and then I'm sure a bunch of more people will be coming here as well. I'm very happy about it.
Live music, family fun, and caribou burgers all help contribute to the sense of community that makes Nunavut home.
Oh, it's lovely having everybody here. Everybody's in a mood to celebrate. I think in a time where we often think about what we don't have, today's a great day to think about what we do have, and what we have is community and people, and I'm proud to be where I'm from.
Others expressed how proud they are to be Inuit, who form 80% of Nunavut's population.
I think Inuit people are a very strong people. We are a very strong people. I mean, look where we come from.
I think what comes to mind is the family we have here, the communities that support each other. I'm really proud to be from Nunavut.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say because it's our land and we're Inuit.
Trevor Wright, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
The North American Indigenous Games are set to begin July 16th in Jabuktuk, which is Mi'kmaq for Halifax, after being pushed back numerous times due to the pandemic. This year's NAG will see over 5,000 athletes, coaches, and team staff from over 750 different Indigenous nations compete at this year's events. There are 16 different sports at this year's games, and 3 of them are traditional Indigenous sports: canoe kayak, lacrosse, and 3D archery. Along with the Canadian contingency, Indigenous people from the United States will also be participating. 854 participants will be going from 11 states in the U.S., as well as Team Haudenosaunee will be making the trip to Canada's East Coast. Certainly look forward to NAG and all the games that is going to be provided. All right, that is all we have for you this evening on APTN National News. Our website, aptnnews.ca, has more information on any stories you've seen from tonight's show. For all of us here, thank you so much for joining us. Miigwech, Kinanaskmatin, and have a great night.